Captain Hansol Kim watched the screens in front of him with growing worry. Red lights flashed across the bridge of his spaceship as warnings filled the air. The enemy ships were getting closer to New Busan, the human colony world below them. "Sir, we have 30 Dominion warships coming fast," said his second officer. "They will reach the planet in 2 hours." Hansol closed his eyes for a moment. New Busan was home to 3 million people. Men, women, and children who had built new lives on this world far from Earth. Now the Dominion Empire wanted to destroy everything they had made. The Dominion had been taking over the galaxy for the past 50 years. They were a group of alien races who believed they should rule everyone else. Any world that would not join them was attacked and destroyed. Billions of people had already died. "How many ships do we have?" Hansol asked. 12, sir, and most of them are damaged from the last fight." Hansol felt anger rise in his chest. 12 ships against 30. It was not enough. But they had to try. These were human lives at stake. "Send a message to all ships," he said. "We fight to the last ship. We fight to the last man. We will give the people below us time to escape." On the planet's surface, Commander So-min Park was helping load the last transport ships. Families ran past her carrying their children and small bags of belongings. Everything else had to be left behind. "Commander Park," called Do-hyun Lee, a young engineer. "The transport ships are full, but we still have 50,000 people waiting." So-min felt sick. There was not enough room for everyone. Some people would have to stay behind and face the Dominion ships when they arrived. "Keep loading," she said. "We will find a way." High above them, the space battle began. Hansol's ships moved fast around the larger Dominion vessels. Human ships were smaller and could turn quickly. But the enemy ships had stronger weapons and better shields. "Direct hit on the Thunder," shouted someone on the bridge. "They are going down." Hansol watched as one of his ships exploded in a ball of fire. Good people were dying. Friends he had known for years were gone in a second. "Sir," called his communications officer. "I am getting a strange signal. It is not human, but it is not Dominion either." "What kind of signal?" "It sounds like a distress call, coming from the far side of the moon." Hansol thought fast. He could not spare any ships for a rescue mission. But the signal was strange. Maybe it was someone who could help them. "Take us there," he ordered. "All ships, follow me." The human fleet turned away from the main battle. The Dominion ships followed them, but they moved more slowly. This gave the transport ships below more time to escape. Behind the moon, they found something amazing. A large alien ship floated in space, badly damaged. It was like nothing Hansol had ever seen. The ship looked like it was made of blue crystal that glowed with its own light. "What is that?" asked his second officer. Before Hansol could answer, his communications officer spoke up. "Sir, they are trying to talk to us, but I cannot understand their language. Let me hear it." Strange sounds filled the bridge. They were like music mixed with the sound of wind through trees. It was beautiful but very alien. Commander So-min Park knew many alien languages. Her job was to study other races and learn how to talk to them. Hansol opened a channel to her on the planet. "So-min, we need you up here. We found something. I cannot leave now, sir. The evacuation is not finished. This might be our only chance for help. Take a fast ship and get up here now." So-min looked at the people still waiting to escape. She did not want to leave them. But if this alien ship could help, it might save everyone. She took the fastest transport ship and flew up to meet Hansol's fleet. When she saw the crystal ship, she could not believe her eyes. "That is a TETRAXIAN vessel," she said over the radio. "I have studied their race, but humans have not seen them for 200 years. Can you talk to them?" "I can try." So-min had studied the old TETRAXIAN language in school. Her teacher said it was a dead language that no one used anymore. She never thought she would need it. She opened a channel to the crystal ship and spoke slowly in the ancient TETRAXIAN words. "This is Commander So-min Park of the human fleet. We hear your distress call. Can you understand me?" For a long moment there was silence. Then a voice answered. It was clear and musical like the sound of bells. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Kitara of the TETRAXIAN Defense Force. Our ship is damaged. We need help." So-min felt excitement rush through her. This was the first contact between humans and TETRAXIANS in centuries. "Admiral, we are also in trouble. The Dominion Empire is attacking our world. We have wounded people and ships that need repair." "The Dominion," said the TETRAXIAN voice, and So-min could hear anger in it. "They destroyed our homeworld 6 months ago. We are the last of our people." So-min's heart sank. Another entire race destroyed by the Dominion. But then she had an idea. "Admiral, maybe we can help each other. Your ship has weapons we have never seen. Our ships are fast and hard to hit. Together we might be able to save the people on our world." There was a long pause. So-min knew this was a big decision. Humans and TETRAXIANS had been enemies long ago. There was no reason for them to trust each other now. Finally, Admiral Kithara spoke again. "Commander So-min Park, we will help you. But in return, you must help us. We have knowledge of an ancient power that could stop the Dominion forever, but we cannot use it alone." "What kind of power?" "Something called the Unity Nexus. It was destroyed long ago, but pieces of it still exist. If we can find them and put them back together, we could free the entire galaxy." So-min felt hope for the first time in weeks. Maybe there was a way to stop the Dominion after all. "Admiral, we accept your offer. Let us save my people first. Then we will talk about this Unity Nexus." The TETRAXIAN ship moved closer to the human fleet. For the first time in 200 years, humans and TETRAXIANS were going to work together. Neither of them knew it yet, but this moment would change the fate of the entire galaxy. The next few days were not easy. The human and TETRAXIAN crews tried to work together, but everything went wrong. The TETRAXIANS thought humans were too loud and moved too fast. The humans thought the TETRAXIANS were cold and took too long to make decisions. Do-hyun Lee was working on connecting the TETRAXIAN ship's weapons to the human fleet's computer systems. Every time he tried to touch the crystal controls, they would not respond to him. "This is impossible," he said to Admiral Kithara. "Your technology is completely different from ours." The TETRAXIAN admiral stood over 7 feet tall with blue skin that looked like living crystal. She had 4 arms and large black eyes that seemed to look right through people. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but Do-hyun could tell she was getting frustrated too. "Your people think with emotion instead of logic," she said. "The crystal responds to clear thoughts, not feelings." "Maybe that is the problem," said Commander So-min Park, who was watching them work. "We are trying to force our technologies to work the same way. What if we found a way to combine them instead?" Dr. Ji-woo Choi had joined them from Earth. She was an expert on ancient alien civilizations. She had been studying the old TETRAXIAN records that Admiral Kithara had shared with them. The records say that long ago, before humans and TETRAXIANS ever met, there was something called the Unity Nexus, Ji-woo said. It connected all thinking beings in the galaxy. They could share thoughts and feelings across the stars. "What happened to it?" asked Captain Hansol. "It was destroyed," said Sage Velnara, an ancient TETRAXIAN who looked even older than the others. Her crystal skin was pale white and covered with glowing lines. The beings who later became the Dominion Empire broke it into pieces. They wanted to control other races, not connect with them. So-min looked at the records Ji-woo was showing her. "These writings are very old. How do we know they are real?" Sage Velnara touched one of the crystal walls of her ship. Suddenly the room filled with images. They could see ancient worlds with beautiful cities. Different alien races lived together in peace. Ships that looked like living creatures flew between the stars. "This is how the galaxy was before the Unity Nexus was broken," Velnara said. "Every race could understand every other race. War was almost unknown because beings could feel each other's pain." "It sounds too good to be true," said Hansol. "Perhaps," said Admiral Kithara, "but we have nothing left to lose. Our world is gone. Your worlds are being destroyed one by one. If there is even a small chance that the Unity Nexus could stop the Dominion, we must try." Their conversation was interrupted by alarms. The Dominion had found them. 15 enemy ships coming fast," reported Tae Jin-yoon, the human marine commander. "They will be here in 20 minutes. Han Sol looked at his small fleet. They had been repairing their ships, but the work was not finished. Half of his weapons were still broken. "We cannot fight them here," he said. "We need to run." "No," said Admiral Kithara. "There is a better way. We try working together as your commander So-min suggested." "What do you mean?" "Your ships are fast and can change direction quickly. Our ship has powerful shields and weapons. If we coordinate our attack, our crews do not know how to work together," Hansol pointed out. "Then we learn quickly," said So-min. "Do-hyun, can you connect our communication systems?" Do-hyun had been listening to their conversation. He had an idea. What if we do not try to make our technologies the same? What if we let them be different but work together? He started connecting the human and TETRAXIAN systems with simple cables and wireless signals. Instead of trying to merge them completely, he created a way for them to share information while staying separate. "It is working." he said excitedly. I can see the TETRAXIAN ship's shields on our screens, and they can see our engine power on theirs. The Dominion ships arrived just as they finished the connections. They were large black vessels with red lights and weapons that could destroy planets. Here they come, said Taijin. All human ships prepare for battle. But this time was different. Admiral Kithara spoke to the human ships through the new communication system. Human vessels, move to positions around our ship. We will provide shield cover while you attack with your speed. The human ships moved like birds around the larger TETRAXIAN vessel. When the Dominion ships fired at them, the TETRAXIAN shields protected them. When the enemy ships tried to target the TETRAXIAN vessel, the human ships would dart in and attack their weak spots. Du Hyun watched his instruments with amazement. The combination is working. Our shields are twice as strong with the TETRAXIAN power, and their weapons are more accurate with our targeting systems. But the real surprise came when So-min and Admiral Kithara started coordinating the battle together. So-min would see an opportunity for a quick attack, and somehow Kithara would know exactly what she was thinking without being told. How are you doing that? Asked Hansol. I do not know, said So-min. It is like she can feel what I am thinking. TETRAXIANs have limited telepathic abilities, explained Sage Velnara. Perhaps working so closely with humans is awakening something that has been sleeping. The battle was over in an hour. All 15 Dominion ships were destroyed and the human TETRAXIAN fleet had only minor damage. Impossible, said Taijin. We should have been destroyed. How did we win so easily? Jiwoo was looking at her readings with excitement. The energy patterns are similar to what I have been reading about the Unity Nexus. When our crews worked together, something activated. Something that made us stronger than we should have been. Admiral Kithara nodded slowly. We felt it too. For a moment, it was like we were one crew instead of two different species. This is what the Unity Nexus was supposed to do, said Sage Velnara. It allowed different races to work together as if they were parts of the same mind. Hansol felt hope growing in his chest. If we can do this with just one TETRAXIAN ship and a small human fleet, what could we do with more people? First, we need to find the pieces of the Unity Nexus, said Jiwoo. According to these records, they are hidden on worlds across the galaxy. The Dominion will try to stop us, warned Kithara. Let them try, said So-min. We just proved that together we are stronger than apart. As their ships prepared to leave for the first search location, none of them realized that they had just started something that would change the galaxy forever. The Dominion Empire had ruled through fear and separation for decades. But now humans and TETRAXIANs had shown that unity was stronger than division. Deep in space, Dominion listening posts had detected the battle. Reports were already being sent to their leaders about the impossible alliance between two enemy species. The hunt for the Unity Nexus was about to begin, and the Dominion Empire was going to do everything in their power to stop it. 3 weeks after their first victory, the human TETRAXIAN fleet had grown. Word of their alliance had spread across the galaxy. Ships from other races that had escaped Dominion attacks came to join them. But finding the pieces of the Unity Nexus was harder than anyone had expected. Professor Min-ji Song had joined them from Earth. She was an expert in quantum physics and had been studying the energy patterns from their first battle. She worked closely with navigator Zilkara, a young TETRAXIAN who claimed she could sense the Nexus fragments. The problem is that the fragments do not show up on normal sensors, Min-ji explained to Captain Hansol. They exist in a different dimension that overlaps with ours. What does that mean? Asked Do-hyun Lee. Think of it like this, said Zilkara, her forearms moving as she spoke. You are looking at a picture painted on glass. Behind the glass is another picture. Sometimes you can see both at the same time, but usually you only see one. Dr. Jiwoo had been studying the ancient records day and night. According to these texts, the first fragment is hidden on a world called Kethmora. It was an important planet long ago, but now it should be empty. Why empty? Asked Commander So-min Park. Because the Dominion destroyed all life there 50 years ago, said Sage Velnara sadly. They wanted to make sure no one could find what was hidden there. General Young-soo Hwang, who had recently joined them with a small fleet of human warships, studied the star maps. Kethmora is deep in Dominion space. Getting there will be dangerous. Everything we do now is dangerous, said Admiral Kithara, but we must try. The journey to Kethmora took 5 days. They had to avoid Dominion patrol ships and travel through asteroid fields to stay hidden. When they finally reached the dead world, what they found made everyone feel sick. The planet's surface was covered with the ruins of great cities. But there were no plants, no animals, no life of any kind. The Dominion had used weapons that poisoned the very air and water. "Scanning for the fragment," said Zilkara, her eyes closed in concentration. "I can feel something. It is underground, deep underground." "The sensors showed tunnels beneath the largest ruined city," reported Minji. "But they are very deep. We will need to go down there ourselves." Hansol picked a small team to explore the ruins. He took Somin, Dohyun, Jiwoo, and Zilkara with him. Admiral Kiyothara wanted to come too, but someone had to stay with the ships in case the Dominion found them. The ruined city was like nothing they had ever seen. The buildings had been made of a material that looked like metal and stone mixed together. Strange symbols covered the walls, and broken statues lined the empty streets. "This place feels sad," said Somin as they walked through the ruins. "Many people died here," said Zilkara. "I can feel their fear from when the attacks happened." They found the entrance to the underground tunnels in what had once been the city's center. The tunnels went down for miles, deeper than seemed possible. "The air is getting thicker," said Do-hyun, checking his instruments. "There is some kind of energy down here." As they went deeper, the walls began to glow with a soft blue light. "The same color as TETRAXIAN crystal technology." "We are getting close," said Zilkara. "The fragment is just ahead." They came to a large underground chamber. In the center was a pool of water that glowed with blue light. Floating above the pool was a crystal about the size of a human head. It was beautiful, like a star trapped in solid light. "That is it," whispered Jiwoo. "A piece of the unity nexus." But as Do-hyun reached for the crystal, something amazing happened. The chamber filled with voices. Not sounds they could hear with their ears, but voices they could feel in their minds. Images appeared in the air around them. They could see the planet as it had been long ago. Green forests covered the land. Beautiful creatures lived in crystal cities that reached toward the sky. Different alien races worked together, building wonders that humans had never imagined. "These are the memories stored in the fragment," said Zilkara with wonder in her voice. "The Nexus piece has been keeping the history of this world safe." Somin felt tears in her eyes as she watched families of different alien species playing together in gardens of living light. They were so happy. How could anyone destroy something so beautiful? "Because beauty and happiness are threats to those who want power," said a new voice. They spun around to see someone standing in the chamber entrance. It was a figure in black armor with red glowing eyes, a Dominion Inquisitor, one of their most feared agents. "You will not take that fragment," the Inquisitor said. "The Unity Nexus must remain broken." "Why?" demanded Hansol, drawing his weapon. "Why do you want to keep the galaxy in darkness?" "Because unity makes people hard to control," the Inquisitor replied. "When beings can feel each other's thoughts, they do not follow orders without question. They think for themselves. They rebel." The Inquisitor raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Zilkara did something unexpected. She reached out and touched the floating crystal with all four of her hands. Power exploded through the chamber. The crystal's light grew brighter than the sun. The Inquisitor screamed and vanished, burned away by the pure energy. But something else happened too. For just a moment, everyone in the chamber could feel what the others were feeling. Hansol felt Zilkara's determination to protect her new friends. Somin felt Do-hyun's excitement at seeing such amazing technology. Jiwoo felt the deep sadness of the dead world above them, and they all felt something else. A presence, the memory of countless beings who had been connected by the Unity Nexus long ago. For just a second, they were part of something vast and wonderful. Then the moment passed, and they were themselves again. "But they were changed. Did you feel that?" asked Do-hyun. "The connection," said Somin. "It was like we were all one person." Zilkara carefully lifted the crystal fragment. It was warm to the touch and hummed with hidden power. "This is only one piece. The records say there are 12 fragments total. When they are all brought together, the Unity Nexus will be restored," finished Jiwoo. "And every thinking being in the galaxy will be connected again. The Dominion will do anything to stop us," warned Hansol. "Then, we had better find the other fragments quickly," said Somin. As they made their way back to the surface, none of them noticed that the crystal fragment was already starting to change them. Their thoughts were becoming clearer. Their understanding of each other was growing stronger. Back on their ships, Admiral Kythera felt the change immediately when they returned. Something is different about you, she said. We touched the fragment, explained Zilkara. It showed us what the galaxy could be like. And now we know why the Dominion fears it so much, added Hansol. Unity is the opposite of everything they believe in. As their fleet prepared to search for the next fragment, Dominion ships were already moving to intercept them. The race to restore the Unity Nexus had truly begun. But deep in space, other forces were stirring. Ancient machines left behind by the original Nexus builders were awakening. The galaxy itself seemed to sense that change was coming. The question was, would they find all the fragments before the Dominion destroyed them? And even if they did, would they be strong enough to face what was coming next? 6 months had passed since they found the first fragment. The Alliance fleet had grown to over 200 ships from dozens of different species. They had found 6 more fragments of the Unity Nexus, but each victory came with a terrible price. Captain Hansol stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the reports from their latest battle. 50 good ships had been lost. Thousands of brave people were dead. The Dominion was fighting harder with each fragment they recovered. Sir, called his communications officer, we are getting a signal from the TETRAXIAN ship. Admiral Kithara wants to speak with you. Hansol had been dreading this conversation. 3 days ago, during the battle for the 6th fragment, Kithara had been captured by Dominion forces. They had her prisoner somewhere in their territory, and there had been no word from her since. Put her through, Hansol said. The screen showed Admiral Kithara, but she looked terrible. Her crystal skin was cracked and dull. Her forearms were chained, and there were burn marks on her body where the Dominion had tortured her. Hansol, she said, her voice weak but still proud. You must listen to me carefully. Kithara, we are coming to get you. Do-hyun has been working on a rescue plan. No, she interrupted. That is what they want. They are using me as bait. The entire Dominion fleet is waiting for you to try to rescue me. Hansol felt anger burn in his chest. I will not leave you there, you must. The mission is more important than any one person, even me. You have 6 fragments now. There are 6 more to find. If you waste time trying to save me, billions of people will remain slaves forever. Behind Kithara, Hansol could see Dominion guards. One of them, an Inquisitor in black armor, stepped forward. Captain Kim, the Inquisitor said, I am Commander Vexthal. I have a message for you from Emperor Malekthon himself. Hansol had heard that name before. Emperor Malekthon was the supreme ruler of the Dominion Empire. No one had seen him for decades, but his orders controlled the entire galaxy. The Emperor offers you a choice, Vexthal continued. Surrender the fragments you have found, and we will let your friend live. Continue your rebellion and she will suffer until she dies. Do not listen to him, said Kithara. They lie about everything. The Inquisitor struck her with an energy weapon. Kithara screamed in pain and the sound cut through Hansol like a knife. Stop, he shouted. Then give us the fragments, said Vexthal calmly. Hansol looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. He thought about Kithara, who had become like a sister to him over the past months. He thought about all the people counting on them to restore the Unity Nexus. I need time to think, he said finally. You have 1 day, said Vexthal. After that, your friend dies slowly. The transmission ended, leaving Hansol staring at a blank screen. Commander So-min Park came to stand beside him. Over the months, she had changed. The fragments they had collected were affecting all of them, making them more connected to each other. She could feel Hansol's pain as if it were her own. There has to be another way, she said. The Dominion has thousands of ships, said General Young-Soo Hwang. We have 200. A direct attack would be suicide. Do-hyun Lee had been quiet, working at his computer station. Now he looked up with excitement in his eyes. What if we do not attack them? He said. What if we make them come to us? What do you mean? Asked Hansol. I have been studying the fragments we have collected. When they are brought close together, they create a powerful energy field. What if we use that energy as a weapon? Professor Minji Song shook her head. The fragments are not weapons. They are meant to connect minds, not destroy things. But they do affect technology, Do-hyun pointed out. Remember what happened when we first found one? The Dominion Inquisitor was destroyed by the energy. Dr. Jiwoo had been studying the ancient records again. The text mentioned something called the Awakening Protocol. If enough fragments are brought together in the right way, they can activate dormant Nexus technology across the galaxy. What kind of technology? Asked Hansol. Defense systems, ancient machines that were built to protect the Unity Nexus from exactly this kind of threat. Sage Velnara, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. I remember stories from my grandmother. She said that when the original Nexus was destroyed, some of its guardians went into hiding. They built secret bases and waited for the day when someone would try to restore the connection. You think these guardians are still out there? Asked Somin. Some of them might be, but they would only awaken if they sensed the fragments being reunited. Han Sol felt hope growing in his chest. How many fragments would we need? According to the record 7, said Jiwoo. We have 6. The 7th fragment is on Nexus Prime, said Velnara, the original homeworld of the Unity Nexus. But that world is now the center of the Dominion Empire. It is where Emperor Malekthon has his throne. Of course it is, said General Youngsu grimly. He probably built his palace right on top of it. Then that is where we have to go, said Han Sol. Not to rescue Kythera, but to get the final fragment and activate the awakening protocol. It is still suicide, said Youngsu. The Dominion capital has more defenses than the rest of the Empire combined. Maybe, said Somin. But we have something they do not expect. We have the fragments we have already collected. And we have each other. Over the past months, the crews from different species had been growing closer. The fragments' energy was slowly connecting their minds, just like the old Unity Nexus used to do. They could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. They worked together like parts of the same organism. The Dominion rules through fear and separation, said Do-hyun. But we fight with unity and connection. Maybe that will be enough. Han Sol looked around at his friends, human and TETRAXIAN, young and old, all united by a common dream. A dream of a galaxy where every being could live free. All right, he said. We go to Nexus Prime, we get the final fragment. We activate the ancient defenses, and we end the Dominion Empire once and for all. What about Admiral Kythera? Asked someone. Han Sol felt pain in his heart, but he also felt something else. Through the connection the fragments had created, he could sense Kythera's thoughts across the vastness of space. She was afraid, but she was also determined. She wanted them to complete the mission even if it meant her death. Kythera would want us to save the galaxy, he said. That is what we are going to do. As the Alliance fleet prepared for their final and most dangerous mission, none of them knew that Emperor Malekthon had been watching them the entire time. He had allowed them to find 6 fragments on purpose, because he wanted them to come to Nexus Prime. He wanted them to bring all the fragments to him. The trap was set. The final battle was about to begin, and the fate of every living being in the galaxy hung in the balance. The journey to Nexus Prime took 2 weeks. As they traveled through space, Captain Han Sol could feel the fragments calling to each other. The 6 pieces they had collected were glowing brighter each day, and everyone on the fleet could sense the growing power. Sir, said Do-hyun Lee, the fragments are affecting our ship's systems. The computers are working faster, and the weapons are more accurate. It is like the technology is becoming more alive. Commander So-min Park nodded. I can feel it too. And it is not just the machines. We are all changing. I can sense what people are thinking, even from other ships. This was true. The Unity Nexus fragments were slowly connecting the minds of everyone in the fleet. Humans could feel TETRAXIAN emotions. The other alien species were beginning to understand each other without words. It was beautiful, but also frightening. What will happen when we get all 12 fragments together? Asked Professor Minji Song. Dr. Jiwoo had been studying this question for weeks. According to the records, everyone in the galaxy will be connected. Every thinking being will be able to share thoughts and feelings with every other being. That sounds wonderful, said General Youngsu Huang. But also dangerous. What if someone uses that connection to control others? That is exactly what Emperor Malekthon wants to prevent, said Sage Velnara. He has been ruling through fear and separation for so long that he cannot imagine a world based on unity and trust. When they finally reached Nexus Prime, what they saw shocked them all. The planet was covered with massive metal structures that reached up into space. At the center was a huge black tower that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. That is the Emperor's palace, said Velnara, built right on top of the original Unity Nexus temple. I am reading thousands of ships around the planet, reported the sensor officer. This is the entire Dominion fleet. Han Sol felt fear in his stomach, but he also felt something else. Through their connection, he could sense Admiral Kythera somewhere on the planet below. She was still alive and she was trying to send them a message. She is telling us something, said Somin, who was also connected to Kithara's thoughts. The final fragment is not in the palace. It is hidden underneath it, in the ruins of the original temple. How do we get down there with the entire Dominion fleet waiting for us? Asked Young Su. Du-hyun had been working on this problem for days. We do not fight the fleet. We go around it. The fragments have been teaching me things about space and time. I think I can open a portal directly to the planet's surface. That is impossible, said Minji. A week ago, talking to people with your mind was impossible too, Do-hyun pointed out. The fragments are showing us abilities we never knew we had. As the Alliance fleet approached the planet, the Dominion ships moved to attack them. But Do-hyun activated his portal device and something amazing happened. A hole opened in space itself, and the Alliance ships flew through it. They appeared in the atmosphere of Nexus Prime, right above the Black Palace. Dominion defense systems began firing at them immediately, but the fragment's energy protected their ships. Landing parties prepare to go down, ordered Han Sol. We get the fragment and get out before they can organize a proper attack. Han Sol, So-min, Do-hyun, Ji-woo, and Velnara took a small ship down to the planet's surface. They landed in the ruins outside the palace, where broken stone columns showed what the world had been like before the Dominion destroyed it. The entrance to the old temple is this way, said Velnara. Leading them through the ruins, they found a hidden door in the side of a fallen statue. It led to tunnels that went deep underground, beneath even the foundations of the Emperor's palace. As they went deeper, the walls began to glow with the same blue light they had seen on other Nexus worlds. But this light was different. It was stronger, more alive. The final fragment was close. They came to a vast underground chamber. In the center was a pool of glowing water just like on Keth Mora. But instead of one fragment floating above it, there were six. 6 more pieces of the Unity Nexus waiting to be found. This is where it all began, whispered Velnara. The heart of the original Unity Nexus. But as they approached the pool, a voice spoke from the shadows. Welcome, rebels. I have been waiting for you. A figure stepped into the light. It was tall and thin, wearing robes that seemed to be made of darkness itself. Its face was hidden, but its eyes glowed with red fire. Emperor Malikthon, said So-min. Indeed, and you have brought me exactly what I need. The 6 fragments you collected plus the 6 here. When all 12 are together, I will have power over every mind in the galaxy. The Unity Nexus does not work that way, said Ji-woo. It connects minds, it does not control them. The Emperor laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Foolish child. I was there when the original Nexus was built. I helped design it. And I was the one who destroyed it when I realized what it could become. You? Gasped Velnara. But that was thousands of years ago. Time means nothing to beings like me. I have lived for eons watching civilizations rise and fall. The Unity Nexus was supposed to bring peace, but instead it made beings weak. They stopped fighting, stopped growing, stopped becoming stronger. You destroyed an entire galaxy's worth of connections because you thought peace was weakness? Someone asked in disbelief. I saved the galaxy from stagnation. Competition makes beings stronger. Conflict drives evolution. The Unity Nexus would have turned everyone into peaceful sheep. Han Sol stepped forward, his weapon drawn. Maybe peaceful sheep are better than warlike wolves. Are they? Asked the Emperor. Look at what humans have accomplished through struggle and war. Look at how strong you have become. Would you be here now if your species had never known conflict? Han Sol hesitated. It was true that humans had learned to be strong through hardship, but they had also learned to be compassionate, to help each other, to work together. Strength without compassion is just cruelty, he said finally, and compassion without strength is just weakness, the Emperor replied. As they spoke, Do-hyun had been quietly working. He had connected the 6 fragments they carried to his equipment, and now he was reaching toward the pool where the other 6 fragments waited. Stop, shouted the Emperor, but it was too late. The moment Do-hyun touched the water, all 12 fragments came together. Light exploded through the chamber, brighter than 1,000 suns. The Emperor screamed and tried to shield himself, but the light passed right through him, and then everything changed. Han Sol could suddenly feel the thoughts and emotions of every person in the Alliance fleet above them. He could sense Kithara, Locked in a cell somewhere in the palace, feeling hope for the first time in weeks, he could feel the Dominion soldiers beginning to question their orders as the Unity Nexus awakened their capacity for empathy. Across the galaxy, ancient machines that had been sleeping for thousands of years began to wake up. Defense systems activated. Hidden bases revealed themselves. And most importantly, beings who had been enslaved by the Dominion suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. The Emperor staggered backward as the light grew stronger. "No! This will destroy everything I have built!" "Good," said Sage Velnara. She stepped forward, her old crystal skin beginning to glow with the same light as the fragments. "It is time for a new galaxy, one based on connection instead of control. I will not allow it." The Emperor raised his hands and dark energy flowed from them. He was incredibly powerful, more powerful than anything they had ever faced. But Velnara was ready for this. She had known all along that someone would have to pay the ultimate price to restore the Unity Nexus. She opened her mind completely to the fragment's power. "Remember us," she said to Hansol and the others. "Remember what we fought for." Light poured from Velnara's body as she absorbed the full power of the Unity Nexus. She became a being of pure energy, connected to every mind in the galaxy. The Emperor's dark power struck her, but instead of destroying her, it was absorbed and transformed into more light. "Impossible," the Emperor gasped. "You cannot control that much power." "I am not controlling it," Velnara said, her voice now coming from everywhere at once. "I am becoming it. I am becoming the guardian the galaxy needs." The light grew until it filled the entire chamber, then the entire planet, then spread out into space. Across the galaxy, beings who had been slaves for decades suddenly felt their chains break. Dominion soldiers laid down their weapons as they remembered their own families and homeworlds. The empire that had ruled through fear and hatred crumbled in minutes as love and understanding spread like wildfire. Emperor Malikthon tried one final attack, pouring all his ancient power into a blast of pure destruction. But the light caught it and transformed it into something beautiful. For just a moment, even the Emperor felt what it was like to be connected to other beings instead of ruling over them. "This is what I was afraid of," he whispered. "This is what I tried to prevent." "Because you were afraid of losing control," said Velnara's voice. "But control was never yours to have. It belongs to all of us together." The Emperor's form began to dissolve as the Unity Nexus energy transformed him. He was not destroyed, but changed. For the first time in thousands of years, he felt what other beings felt. He experienced their joy, their pain, their hope, their love. "I understand now," he said as he faded away. "I was wrong.